With it being 5 o'clock and with having a quorum, I'd like to call this Patricia A. Hannaford Regional Technical School District Board to order. It's 5 p.m. I'd like to start with introduction of board members. Let's see, let's start with Kim, please.
Hi, I'm Kim Farnham. I live in New Haven. I'm the community at large member from the Mount Abraham School District.
Missy
Beckwith, Workforce Investment Board member.
And then online,
Steve
Jen?
Orzak.
Oh, Steve Orzak. That's all right, Steve, you go.
Steve Orzak, ACSD.
Jen?
Judd Markowski, WIP member and resident of Bridgeport.
And then Steve R.
Steve Rooney, live in Starksboro, represent the 9-8 Unified School District.
And I'm Suzanne Buck. I'm from the ACSD district. And then administrators. I've lost my room view, so Dana or Jenny, who wants to go first?
Dana Peterson, Superintendent, Patricia A. Hannaford Regional Technical School District.
Jay?
Jay Stetzel, Assistant Director, Hannaford Career Center.
Shane?
Shane Keene, Finance Assistant.
And Linda?
Linda Barrett, Clerk.
Do we have any visitors online, Jay?
Not that I see, except for Nick Handrick, sorry.
Other than Nick. And then Nick?
I'm Nick Cantrick, Instruction Technology Instructor, Hannaford Career Center.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Was that Steve?
Orzak. Steve Orzak,
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second, Judd.
Jen?
Suzanne,
Seconded?
Suzanne, I have a discussion item on the agenda. It says at the bottom that the facilities meeting, the next facilities meeting is 7:25. I think we have one on Monday, the 27th.
That's correct, Steve.
Dana or Jay
That's
is-
correct.
So there is a facilities meeting this coming Monday?
Yes, there is, 7:30.
Okay.
That's all. Just wanted to clarify that.
Did it get resolved as to when budget and policy is meeting? Because it got moved, and I thought Monday was one of the potential days. And I didn't see any emails after that.
Yes, I'm still trying to figure that out, Steve. I'll let you know as soon as I get it taken care of.
I'm trying to figure out my life too, Steve, so that's why I haven't responded. And then I know that there is one other item that just showed up this morning that needs to be taken care of. And it would be under action items, and it would need to be around the Perkins authorizations and Dana, I told you what it was this morning. Can you help me with my words?
Yes, authorizing a district representative to submit for any Perkins reimbursements that would occur after my departure.
Thank you. So that's another, the only other addition that I have for the agenda. Does anybody else have any other additions or corrections to the agenda as printed?
I am not sure if I have the up-to-date agenda. Is there an action item on the agenda for the leave request?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that was under correspondence. I had printed my own agenda last week, so there should be, that should appear under correspondence and then under the action item. Thank you.
Yeah. With those additions and updates, may I have all in favor, please say aye, or raise your Zoom hands.
Suzanne, can I hold on for just a second?
Yep.
So to answer Dana's question, I'm looking at the Word version of the agenda right now,
It's not there.
and I don't see the leave
It's not
request.
on the one that's in the folder.
It's not.
Nope.
It's in
Okay,
the-
so those
it's in
need
the
to be
pa-
added then.
It's in the packet, but it's not on the agenda.
Okay, the document's in the packet, but the agenda hasn't, okay. So then we need to add that to the agenda, please.
So we will add in a leave of absence request to the agenda, and that would be under action items.
Yes, but it's also under correspondence. So-
Yes. Any other updates or corrections? Hearing none and seeing no other hands raised, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye,
Aye.
or raise your Zoom hands.
Aye.
Suzanne, just a point of clarification. I think it has to be as amended for Linda. Linda, I don't know what you have for your minutes, but as amended, okay. So the agenda is approved as
As
amended?
amended.
Yep.
All in favor of the agenda as amended with,
Corrections.
please say aye or raise your Zoom hands. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Nick Cantrick, are you here just because of your letter, or did you want to make a public comment also?
No, I'm here because of my letter.
Okay, all right, thank you. So Dana, we have two pieces of correspondence, the first light and then Nick's letter. I'll leave them to you.
Yes. We have a First Light agreement for, this is a recurring 3-year agreement, and the last time I had to bring it to you was 3 years ago. And we are looking to increase our bandwidth a little bit, and it will be actually significantly with a marginal increased cost. So the amount per month would be $862 as opposed to $670 or something like that. But it will quadruple our bandwidth. So Dan Callahan has recommended that we go ahead and sign the agreement for 3 years, but I can't do that without authorization from the board to enter into an agreement beyond 3 years. But we do believe that this would be beneficial, and it is within his budget.
Okay, and then Nick's letter?
Yes, Nick's letter. Nick, would you like to read your own letter, or would you like me to read it for you?
I can read it.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Dear PHARTSD Board, I respectfully request an unpaid leave of absence for the following dates in school year 2022-2023, November 28th through December 22nd. That's a total of 19 school days. The request is based on a spiritual retreat opportunity that I have available to me that I believe can enhance my work as an inclusive education instructor and support my social emotional needs. This opportunity I will use to help support my ability as an instructor to bring varied perspectives to my classroom, and I want to make connections to the principles that I've been working on with the Inclusive Education Project, such as student reflection, empathy, collaboration, and creativity and innovation. I realize that the challenges that this will bring to the operations of the school, and if granted this leave, I will work with local employers, industry partners, and school administration to help support student learning while I'm away. I want to thank you for your consideration. And yeah, if people have questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Nick. If there's questions, we'll have them come up in the action agenda.
Right.
Okay. Consent agenda, we approved the agenda as amended. Were there any additions or corrections to the minutes of June 9th and 16th? If not, we'll continue on. Hearing none, I don't see any hands raised online. So we'll move on to the action agenda. In light that Nick is here, I would like to take up Nick's letter first, if that is okay with the board. And if the board has any questions for Nick in regards to his letter and his request, I open the floor. And I will do my best to see hands raised and or jump up and down and yell at me.
It's Missy, I have a question.
Missy?
I'm just interested to understand, is this the only time the program or the opportunity is available?
Nick, did you hear that question?
Repeat that one more time.
Sure, I'm just curious if the time frame that you're requesting is the only time frame that the opportunity is available.
It is. Yeah. It'll be this year in December.
Kim, do you have any questions?
No.
Steve Orzik has a question.
Steve Orzik?
Yes, the description of the retreat, is there more information on that? Because it's a little vague as to what this is going to be covering, and it's a little hard for me to ascertain whether it's relevant with that short description. Is there someplace we can find information on this, or would you like to expand on what exactly the retreat is about?
I'd prefer to kind of keep that more personal, but it's basically a personal, reflective journey that I'd like to engage in. And it's occurring in the desert Southwest. It's an area where I grew up. I grew up out west, and just find it a special place, and I want to reconnect with it. I had this in my mind prior to my employment at the Career Center, and due to the effects of COVID over the past couple years, it's been postponed, and the opportunity came available to me this spring, and so I wanted to jump on it.
Thank you, Nick. Judd or Steve Rooney?
Actually, the question I had was where was it, and you just answered that.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Kim has a question.
Suzanne?
Hi, Kim, yes?
Hi, Nick. My question is this. This experience, conference, however you want to describe it, that you would like to go to, how will it affect your teaching and the students that you currently work with?
In terms of classroom operations?
Anything. Whatever is a highlight or a piece of that experience that you feel you will, improve your teaching, whatever it is. I'm looking for a correlation.
Yeah. Well, a little background into my life. I was a philosophy major in college, and so I find reflective principles and varied perspectives as being assets in the classroom. That's something that I center my classroom learning around, making connections to greater principles, value-based learning, moral philosophy. I'm hoping that this retreat will allow me to kind of step away from the classroom after being in it for a couple years, and kind of give me just more perspective on how I can bring kind of those reflective principles, value-based driven learning to my classroom. That's what I'm hoping to bring with the classroom, and then support my own social emotional needs as in the same respect. And as far as my classroom operations go, like I said in my last paragraph, I want to. I've got a budding advisory committee. I've got strong industry partners, and I was hoping to develop a plan this summer, if granted this leave request, to kind of continue my support my student learning in my classroom on my way.
Thank you.
Dana or Jay, do you have any comments or thoughts?
Nick shared this opportunity with us a while ago, and we reviewed the collective bargaining agreement just in terms of the viability of doing that and permissibility within the constraints. And we feel that we can support this, much like we did with Hayden when he asked for a much more extended leave to take care of some personal needs that he had at the time when we granted him a half of year of unpaid leave, which was actually just this year. It was from August through it was through the first semester, so August through mid-January. So we believe that this is something that would be an investment in our instructional practices for Nick, and that he would bring that back to the classroom being refreshed, rejuvenated, as well as inspired to share some of those reflective practices. Nick has always been very reflective in his interactions with me, and I think that he tries to take that practice and share it with his students so that they can become more autonomous. So we have no objection to the request and think we can work that out.
Steve Orzik?
Based on the fact that it's an unpaid leave, financially, will that cover the cost of bringing someone in to cover that class?
Yes, in fact, it would cover more than just a substitute for that short period of time. Nick has mentioned that he would reach out to advisory members, and they might be able to come in and do specific units in tandem with whoever would be covering the class. So we think that we have more than sufficient funds to cover that request.
Steve R. or Judd, any other comments or questions?
No, I'm pretty satisfied, thank you.
Okay, if there are none, may I have a motion to approve Nick's unpaid leave of absence from November 28th through December 22nd of 2022?
So moved.
Moved by Steve Orzik, seconded by Judd.
Yes, please, thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no hands raised. Hi, Dr. Tiffany Love, how are you?
Hello, sorry I'm late, I was having trouble with the internet.
That's all right, you're here now. We are in the process of, we just took a motion to accept the unpaid leave of Nick Cantrick from November 28th to December 22nd, and we were just about getting ready to vote on it.
That right?
So we'll continue on if that's okay with you, Tiffany.
Absolutely.
Okay, and all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Or
Aye.
or Zoom hands. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Thank you for coming, Nick.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to working this into my classroom and helping the school be successful during my absence. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, have a good evening, y'all.
You too. The next item on the agenda is corporate resolutions. Is that Shane?
That's Shane.
So I'm looking for, first one is the memo from me for the board authorization of invoice payments. And Suzanne, I'm not sure how this works. Do we hand this around for everybody to sign, or do we sign after?
After.
Which one are you referring to, Shane? Sorry.
The first one I'm looking at is the invoice.
Is it this one?
Board authorization for invoice payments. Number 2 on the agenda.
I downloaded them all, so I'm gonna find which one you're looking at, sorry.
It's the one about any of the below listed can sign.
Okay, so that, Shane, what we do on that one typically is we take a motion to approve, that any two board members, that are listed on there may sign, and, then we just list all the board members on it. So that way, if, there's been a couple of times like where I can't come in, you kind of reach out and find someone else, you've asked Judd or someone. That's what allows that to happen.
Okay.
And you just designate whoever is willing to serve in that capacity, and we put the names on the list, or you actually have to sign that, I believe. Actually, you don't have to sign it, we just need to put the names on there.
Right, I have to sign it,
You have to sign it.
yeah.
So we just need a list of those who are willing. I have an attendance list going, so I'll just put a check mark by anybody who says that they would be willing to come in and spend, 45 minutes reviewing bills?
At most, yes. I would
Yeah.
say.
So is there anybody online that is opposed to having their name being put down on a list for Shane to call in the case? Currently, right now, it's been myself and Nick Costin going in and doing them the most part. Judd is filled in for me. And Missy used to do them. I don't know if anybody else has
Steve
been
Orr.
in recently.
Steve Orzak's filled in a couple of times.
Okay, so, it's a great experience. You learn a lot about what's going on at the Career Center, what bills are being paid, what goes into running a Career Center. Might be a lot different than running your own business. But I would highly recommend that everybody put their name on the list. But if you really don't want your name on the list, just say so and we won't put your name on it. But I would need a motion to approve this and to approve my signature on it.
So moved.
Who said that? Sorry.
That's Kim.
Kim? Is there a second?
Second.
Missy? Does anybody in the room currently or online currently not want their name on that list?
The other question I have, Suzanne, is Nick, or are Nick and Christina amenable to continuing in that capacity?
I know Nick is. I cannot speak for Christina. When she told me she wasn't coming this afternoon, she did not refer to this to say that she didn't want her name on the list.
And I'm much more local to the office, in that case, so I'm not opposed to being on the list of people that regularly do it, as well as, because it gets done, every 2 weeks, is that right, Shane?
Correct.
Yeah, so.
And this is Tiffany, I'm not opposed.
Hi, Tiffany.
Hey.
I know Nick's fine with it. I suppose, if we have everyone but Christina that's willing to do it,
You shouldn't have a problem. Previously, Suzanne, just for other board members' benefit, we only had 2 or 3. We might have had 3, and it was rotating between those 3. Actually, it might have been 4, I don't know. So if everybody is willing to do it in a pinch, and there are 2 who do it, or 3 who do it regularly, such as yourself, Steve Orzik, and Nick Costin, there shouldn't be any issues with covering that responsibility. It's just to review the bill payments. It's not authorization, those bills have already been authorized, but it's to make sure that we are in compliance with our internal controls, and that the board is aware of the payments that are going out.
Yeah. So, I would think So let's vote on the motion. Is everyone, okay? I don't even know how I worded it. Linda, could you read my motion back to me? Sorry.
Well, I'm gonna, try. You are approving the resolution with Buck, Orzak, and Costin as the regulars, and the remaining board members with the exception of Christina as the substitutes.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on that motion?
Yeah, since Christina's not here, is there any way to amend that? Or could we bring it before the board and amend that to add her name later if we saw fit to do that?
I don't see why not.
Well, Nick is also not here, right?
Yeah, I know Nick has told me that he's fine with staying on doing it.
Okay.
I just don't, like I said, with Christina, I don't,
I don't know that would be a problem. What it would require is a little bit of orchestration on Shane's part, working with National Bank of Middlebury. I don't know that adding a name when it wouldn't be necessary is worth the expense of time or energy, but that's just my operational approach to it. No disrespect to Christina, but she also lives in Virgins and would not be immediately accessible. So it's not like Steve, who lives locally and is not present at the meeting. So I just throw that out. It takes one thing off of Shane's plate, which I think you might appreciate.
Suzanne?
yes.
In addition, you also authorized Buck to sign this resolution. Sorry, I
That's correct.
missed a line.
So is there any further discussion on the motion? I don't see any hands raised online, and I'm looking in the room and I don't see anybody raise their hands at me, so we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye or raise your Zoom hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion's passed.
Thank you. The next, I'll get back in numerical order here. So the next is the tax anticipation note.
And just a note before you go on, we will need Jane to sign this and Linda will sign it. So if we can get Linda's signature as the clerk before the meeting's over, that would be great. Thank you.
So you're doing the resolution note, is that what you just said, Shane?
The tax anticipation note. So that's the line of credit for 1.2 million
Yep.
that we attempted to do last meeting, and we had incomplete documents, which have now been corrected.
Okay.
So the date, there's several pages. There's a blank date for us to fill in today's date. And we're just looking for approval of this line of credit. Again, this is the tax anticipation note. We currently have one with National Bank of Middlebury. We're looking to renew a new one for next fiscal year.
So you would like a motion for the Board of Directors of the PAHRTSD to resolve to borrow the sum of $1,200,000 and no dollars to be borrowed from the National Bank of Middlebury. Principal balance plus accrued interest shall be due on June 30th, 2023. And the proceeds of the loan are to be used for operating expenses in anticipation of tax payments from member towns.
Yes, please.
I have a second. Well, would somebody agree to move what I just said?
So moved, Steve.
Steve Rooney moved it. Is there a second?
Second, Joe.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
Once again, Suzanne, we will need the board to sign this agreement. We can get the two people who are present here, but if we could make arrangements for others to sign this in the next day or two, well, between now and, say, Monday, that would be extremely helpful. That way Shane can get all the signatures on one paper and take it over to the National Bank of Middlebury. And there are two places where this document needs to be signed by the board members. and our clerk will need to sign that, and that could be done tonight. And there are 2 places where the clerk needs to sign. Actually, yeah, there are 3 places where the board needs to sign. 2 places, we highlighted them. 2 places where the clerk would need to sign. And then you need, I don't know if this is a separate motion, Shane, but they need an authorized signature for consent for the tax exemption for the IRS.
Yes.
That can be anybody affiliated with the school. It can be an operations team member. So you might want to take that as a separate motion, but you could authorize me or Shane to actually sign that 8038G tax document.
Okay, why don't we take that as a separate motion?
Okay.
And we'll continue on with the motion that we have on the floor, which has been moved, and I believe it was seconded.
Yes, by Judd.
Yes, by Judd.
By Judd. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no hands raised, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please raise your Zoom hand or say aye.
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 Any nays? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Steve Orzik, I know you're out of town,
Yes.
and you come back when?
We're traveling back July 1st, so I won't be able to do anything until the 5th. I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna be in the office Saturday, Sunday, or 4th of July.
Probably not. Is Shane, will that be okay with you and your paperwork?
Missy's got a question.
Missy has a, yeah.
Well, I'm just reading it, it says by all or majority thereof.
Right.
So I don't think it has to be 100%.
We just need, we need a quorum to be able to sign, and we have 7 this evening, so if Steve did not sign it, it's okay, you're still in compliance. As long as Tiffany, Suzanne, Steve, Rooney, and Judd are able to come in with the 2 who we have signatures for here, you should be fine.
Okay, and I will be in,
Okay.
so,
And will that be with Patrice? Is that who we go to sign her?
If it's Monday, it would be. So if you want to just plan to come in on Monday, that would be fine. It could be either Shane or Patrice on Monday.
I'll be traveling back on Monday, so it'll probably be on Tuesday.
That's fine.
I'll be around.
okay. So, now
But not tomorrow.
we need to authorize,
I should note, Suzanne, that I won't be in the office tomorrow. Jay just mentioned
Okay.
it, reminded me.
so Shane, for the 8038-G, the information return for tax exempt government bonds,
Yes.
is that only one name that you need on there or 2 names?
Just one name. In the past, it's been the business manager that signed this document. But we don't have one, as you know.
So,
I'd make a motion that Dana sign it.
thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
Is that legal?
Yes, it's an authorized representative, and we're doing this prior to, the authorization is happening today for next year. So anybody can be the designee. It doesn't have to be somebody that is continuing for next year. So it can be me or somebody else. It's being dated today, which is the date of your action, so you can just identify anyone.
So the motion on the table is for us to authorize Dana to sign 8038-G, the information return for tax exempt government bonds. Did I hear a second to that motion?
I don't have anyone that made the motion.
Steve?
I made the
Okay,
motion.
Steve Rooney made the motion.
Okay.
I'll second Suzanne Kim.
Kim has seconded it. Is there any further discussion on that? Seeing and hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of authorizing Dana to sign off on the 8038-G information return for tax exempt government bonds, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I think the cat abstained.
Oh, I did see the cat walk through, so. Linda, if you'd like to note that Steve Rudy's cat abstained. Motion's passed.
Okay.
Shane, what else do you have?
Lastly is the corporate resolution for National Bank of Middlebury for signatories on bank accounts. The accounts are listed there, the several accounts with the names of whom we'd like to have as signers or we recommend as signers. Really the only change would be adding the board chair. We currently, going forward, the current signers on the non-general fund and BRF accounts would be the superintendent to be announced, the business manager to be announced, and then the assistant director, Jay Stetzel, and the board chair, Suzanne Buck.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the signatories on this and to have the board clerk sign it? Oh, and I also need to sign it, sorry. So it's myself and the board clerk and one other career center board officer.
Which would be Jane Back, likely as the treasurer.
Okay. So, did someone say so moved?
Yes, Kim. Thank you.
Okay, Kim moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Steve Orzik seconded it. Is there any discussion? I'm clicking through everyone's faces online. I'm not seeing any hands raised, so is there any discussion or questions in the room? Hearing and seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. I'll be in, Shane, on Monday and I'll sign.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Now I gotta find my agenda again. First Light 3-year internet agreement. I did not find that in my board pack, Dana. Was that?
May have been an oversight on my part in sending in. I thought it was there, but I may be mistaken. It is a fairly standard 3-year agreement with the price as indicated here.
We currently have an agreement with these folks.
Yes, we do. And it was a 3-year agreement that the board voted on September 19th. My apologies if I forgot to drop it into the...
And so, Dana, am I understanding that the only change in the agreement is that you have asked for more coverage?
Yes. Dan Callahan feels that we are quickly approaching our capacity and that the quadrupling of the service for a relatively nominal fee that's within his budget would be beneficial. If we were doing it for a year, it wouldn't be a problem. We wouldn't be taking it to the board, but because the statutory provisions for any type of contracts beyond a single year fall within the purview of the board must take action to authorize someone to sign that agreement.
Okay. Board, what's your pleasure?
I'll move we accept this agreement.
Second.
What are the possibilities of, like, putting this out for bid? Is it likely that we would be able to get that additional amount of bandwidth for less, or?
Dan has already done the homework on that
Okay.
and believes that this is the most beneficial, cost-effective way to provide service to the district.
Oh, okay.
So it was moved, was there a second?
Second, Missy.
Missy has seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion on it? Hearing none, and as I flick through the faces online, I don't see any raised hands. So we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye or raise your Zoom hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Allocation of short-term interest for BERF.
So there's no paperwork for this. It is a possibility that it may come to fruition, that because we have a bond and an anticipation note totaling $10 million, that there might be an opportunity in the next couple of months to be able to put some of those funds to use, because we are a nonprofit and a school. And so our consultant, Casey Boyle Eldridge, made a recommendation that we designate a fund ahead of time so that the money could earn interest. And that the beneficiary would be the BERF.
So do we need to describe what the fund is, or are you talking about a fund meaning we have to designate what the investment is?
You just need to designate it if we have funds available during the course of our capital project, which will last for 18 months, almost, or 15 months, that if we have the opportunity, you would authorize those funds to be deposited in an interest-bearing account.
Okay, so we don't have to designate the actual fund.
You do not.
We just have to we have to authorize the action to invest the money.
That's correct.
Yeah, this is a pretty standard.
It is.
Pretty standard operation during construction.
Yes.
So, can I have a motion to do such, to designate a fund for short-term interest?
So moved, Kim?
Kim moved it. Is there a second?
Tiffany, second.
Tiffany has seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion on it? Seeing no hands raised, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Steve, your cat has not wandered through the picture again.
I've been diligent about keeping it out of board business. It wants to be fed.
It's time.
And then, at the beginning of the meeting, we had added one more action item in, and the action item came as a request of our legal counsel, and legal counsel felt that pending our search, the end of our search for a superintendent, that we needed to well, we have to notify the Secretary of State and the agency, not the Secretary of State, excuse me, the Secretary of Education, who we are going to authorize to deal with the Perkins allocations until we have in place a superintendent. And the requirement is that it has to be a licensed educator. And so council has recommended that we make a motion and take this up.
Suzanne, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize you to do that during the interim transfer of leadership, superintendent at the school.
There's a motion on the floor to authorize the board chair to work with the Perkins allocations moving forward until we have a superintendent. Is there a second?
Second, Judd.
Judd has seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Is the board chair willing to do this?
Yes, the board chair will take it on.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Steve Orsick?
Hopefully it'll only be a few weeks to a month, right?
Yes, hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what it means is that there's a team that's already been working on the, this is mostly for requesting funds. But there may be some need to coordinate with Jay on any revisions to the actual language in the Perkins application for next year. But the request for funds is just a review and hitting submit. And Shane and Jay and others can chime in on how to make sure that that is all in line. Casey Boyle Eldridge as well. So it's just getting the review to make sure that that is submitted by someone who is competent to do so and who has the authority of the board pending the transition in leadership.
So the motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any conversation? Jay?
Jay has a question.
Suzanne, is this related to the email that Ruth Durkee sent earlier today?
Yes.
Okay, because my only question then is, someone needs to have access, so you will have access to the grant management system and do whatever needs to be done in there to, so if we get back, or we're making an amendment, or we have other things, we're submitting soon, but there may be, we may receive feedback that we need to adjust or change things, so you're going to do all of those things.
I don't think that would be a good plan, but that's just she doesn't have any background information.
Right, but that's the email that Ruth sent earlier today, that she was asking for someone to have access to the grant management system to do those things, and the board needed to approve someone to be able to do that.
Okay,
Right,
time out. There are a couple of things that I should chime in on because I'm the one who really knows the whole process. There can be additional users in the system, and I could probably set that up so that Jay could be an additional user. But I think what what you're talking about, Suzanne, is that there has to be someone basically designated as the superintendent or functioning in that capacity, however, to do the final approval that is independent from the work that is being done, whether that's business manager. So Shane has to review everything as well. The superintendent has to be the one who does the final sign-off. There can be a group of people working on the Perkins plan, and there can be others added. I can make sure that that happens so that Jay would have editing rights to the document itself, because I don't think that it would be prudent for you to try to take on an adjustment to the Perkins, the huge Perkins plan that we have put together. I do believe that it would be appropriate for you to do a final review and make sure that any of the requests for reimbursements are accurate, and that could be done in conjunction with Shane. But that is far less laborious than actually making an amendment to the plan. if Jay was on as an editor for the plan, then he could actually do the amendment. That would help with the transition as well, because I don't read, unless somebody has significant experience working with Perkins plans, the new director superintendent is going to have to rely on somebody to make those changes. So it does not require, at least at this point in time, it does not require action of the board to do that. The only thing that requires action on the board's part is because my position is being vacated, that the board needs to be able to designate somebody, and I think that that's why legal counsel made the recommendation that Suzanne be that person, since there's nobody serving in the capacity of the chief executive for operations. Have I made that sufficiently clear, or?
So I'm realizing, Dana, that you were not included on this email that was sent this morning.
There you go.
So
There may be information in there that I don't
that's why
know.
I'm asking for clarification, because if this is what we're referring to, the request that Ruth Durkee was making is, I think, is different than that, but I could be wrong, because it says, Dana Peterson retires as of June 30th, 2022, and the school board has not yet hired his replacement. Suzanne Buck is the chair of the school board. Suzanne, if the school board agrees, our grants management team can give Jay Stetzel. It doesn't have to be me. That's not why I'm bringing this up, just to be clear about that. He can give me or someone permissions to submit any needed revisions to PAHCC's Perkins application until a new superintendent is in place. So that seems different.
Jay, I read that to legal counsel,
Okay.
because he and I were on the phone as it came in discussing something else. And legal counsel recommended that my name be put on that, and making sure that bills get paid and such. That was a recommendation of legal counsel.
Okay, but I don't think this is about paying bills, is why I'm asking for clarification. So again, maybe I'm misinterpreting this email, but
No, I don't
seems like
think
it's
you're
more about
misinterpreting.
the application than it is about funds being authorized.
So let me explain. The way it normally works in a district where you are not an independent regional technical center is that a team will do a submission to the superintendent. The superintendent then reviews it and clicks submit. That is all the responsibility that AOE would be delegating to another person. I think what legal counsel, and this is speculative on my part because I don't know, I wasn't part of that conversation, is that they want there to be an independent review after the Perkins plan is submitted, because I am leaving and there is not a designated successor. It doesn't say anything about who would work on the application, and Jay could have access to that. In fact, I should have thought of that a while ago, because that would have saved me time, but anyway. So I think you can achieve both things, but I don't think you want the expectation to be that the board chair actually writes those revisions. I think that that should remain with the operations team, and there's no reason why Jay couldn't do that. It's just the statutory authority to submit grants to the Agency of Education. And I think that, and this is my interpretation, that AOE wants that to be, or not AOE, our legal counsel wants that to be someone on the board. And I think if Suzanne, you're still a licensed educator, right? So that you could,
I'm a licensed educator
Yeah.
and also endorsed as a special ed director.
Okay. So perhaps that's one of the reasons that they're making that recommendation. I hope I haven't added confusion to the process.
Is there any other conversation or questions around the motion?
I guess my only other question is, if others can be put on to help edit and those sorts of things, then this seems fine to me. I mean, again, it's not an issue. I just, in reading Ruth's email, it sounds like whoever you're designating is the person who's going to go in and do those revisions. So again, I don't know that you want that responsibility, Suzanne. I mean, maybe you do, but then we're gonna have to meet together to do that, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so I don't know if I've added more confusion to this, but I was just a little confused based on the email that was sent this morning, so.
And the email the other part, the email came out before Secretary French's letter has come out, and he is coming out with a memorandum because there are several other districts that are in the same boat as us. And so he is putting out guidance around this issue for the whole state. And Joe just happens to know that the letter from Secretary French is coming. And I read to him this piece, and he said they got it out before the letter has come out. So, yeah, that's all I know.
Okay.
So can we have the motion read back?
I'm gonna ask that Kim restate her motion because I am confused.
The motion is to appoint or ask Suzanne to be the designated, I don't know how to put this, interim licensed person to give the final okay on the Perkins grant issues. I mean, I don't know how else to put that.
To submit Perkins?
To submit the final Perkins grant?
Well, it would be to submit applications for reimbursement
From Perkins.
from Perkins, or review and submit any amendments.
Yeah, I think that motion is sufficiently clear. How we execute it may involve adding Jay or somebody else as a user to help Suzanne do that, but Suzanne would be the final person to authorize the final submission of the changes or the payment acquisition, the payment requisition.
And so what I'm gonna do one more thing. I would like Perkins to be struck from that motion, only because it applies to any grant that appears in the AOE grant management system. So it could also apply to gear as well. So there has to be a final review. And so if you say, and that would be also for reimbursements for gear funding. So motion to authorize Suzanne to be the interim licensed educator to submit for reimbursements or review and submit amendments for any grant appearing in the AOE grant management system.
Kim, are you willing to accept that as a friendly amendment?
Yes, and I think it should be read by our scriber and make sure everybody's clear.
So I have that she's moved to designate Buck as interim licensed educator to submit for reimbursement of funds and review and submit any amendments for any grant in the AOU management system.
Grant management system, yeah.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Steve Rudy seconded. Is there any further discussion? Sorry, I gotta scroll through my people online here. See if I see any hands. I don't see any hands or any thumbs going up. So if there's no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hands. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. retreat will be, I had Dana put this on here as August to be determined because I really would like us to have a board retreat with the new superintendent. So I'm hoping that whomever is chosen will be here in August and we can do a board retreat with the person at that point in time. So that's kind of where that one is at. So there's no action right now because we don't currently have a superintendent for August. We have one right now, but not one in August. So moving on to the informational agenda.
Steve Orzik has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve Orzik. Yes.
For the retreat, is it going to be facilitated by someone? And if it is, do we have that lined up and are they flexible enough for a TBD?
So part of the retreat, we would have McPherson and Jacobson with us.
Oh, okay.
As part of the contract, they help the board and the incoming superintendent set goals for the coming year. And they'll help us with, setting milestones and such so that they would be part of that process. But other pieces that were on the board retreat were things that were more like of a conversation with the board and the superintendent. So wouldn't necessarily need a paid facilitator to do that. It's more of a get to know you type conversation and such.
Sure.
So with that, the superintendent search, I sent everybody on the board the draft interview schedule. Did everybody get a chance to look at that? The reason I'm asking is that McPherson and Jacobson were just wondering if people liked the way it was laid out, if they had any concerns about the layout. So it is, again, it's July 7th and 8th, so that's a Thursday and a Friday.
It's moved to the 7th and 8th now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And candidate would arrive, well, they say around 10:30, and would be met by myself and Kim, and then move into interview with student representatives. And for each of these groups of interviewers, they would like 8 to 12 people within each group. So we would need to find 8 to 12 student reps that could be here both the 7th and the 8th. And then I'm believing, it's not necessarily specified, but I'm thinking that Judy would go to lunch with Jay and each candidate and their spouse, if their spouse is able to make it. And then after lunch, again, we have an interview with teacher and staff representatives. So again, it's another 8 to 12 representatives. Then a tour of the facilities, and then a break. And then they would meet with the board for dinner. And then the board would interview each candidate. And then the board would meet in executive session after we're done interviewing each candidate. And I believe the hope is that after the second interview, the board would be able to make a decision as to which candidate the board may like to offer the position to. But I need to know if the schedule as it's laid out would work for the board, because your parts would not start until 5 o'clock on Thursday night and Friday night.
I'm good.
Steve Rudy's good? Jed's good?
Suzanne, I don't know if this was emailed or if it was just on the Google Drive, but I don't see a specific email, but I do believe that I can make my schedule work for July 7th and 8th at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
I think the email just said board updates, so
Yeah.
it's a PDF at the end of that email.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. There was a couple of other things in the email that I sent out, so that I called it board updates. I also included in that, Tiffany, the email that I had sent to the legislators and the senators, so that just to let them know that we've run into some scheduling conflicts and that we had asked to move. I had originally invited them to come tonight, and a lot of them had issues with making it tonight. So I, after our last meeting last week, I wrote to them all and asked them if we could postpone them coming until sometime in August, when the new superintendent hopefully was available. And I thought when I had sent the email that it had gone to the entire board, and when I spoke with Kim, she's like, I didn't get that email, and I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. I thought I sent it to everyone, so it was my apologies, and I included it in that email, so that's probably why you didn't know what I was talking about.
Great. And I found the board updates email, so I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so that is
Steve
all
Orzik.
that I know about the superintendent search update. Yes, Steve Rooney.
Steve Orzik has a question.
Steve Orzak, where are you? There you are.
So I noticed that there are a couple of designated places like lunch and dinner where the spouse is going to be present.
Yep.
Is there something planned for the spouse for the rest of that whole day, or are they just going to be turned loose on their own? I mean, I know when we've done that, when I've done that, those whole day interviews,
Yep.
it usually sets something up for the spouse while the interviewee is being, taken care of. Something like a tour of the town, or realtors to contact, or something like that. And do we have anyone designated to do that, or is Mac and Jake going to take care of that, or should I ask my wife if she'd like to do it? I mean, where are we going here?
Thank you. Good point, because I honestly don't really know. So that's a good question for me to get back to Mac and Jake and say, are we supposed to set up something for the spouse, or are they? And so I'll ask that question.
Yeah. It's a nice touch. I mean, it really is. So.
Okay, I will ask that. Also, if people can get me their questions for me to forward on to Mac and Jake so they can pretty them up and make sure that they're legal and all that good stuff. I need those by tomorrow if possible, tomorrow evening.
Jay has a question, Suzanne.
Jay?
Suzanne, am I locked into doing the lunch? I'm asking for two reasons. One, there's a part of me that would like to be with the faculty and staff, and that part of the interview process. There's another part of me that I know my wife has to work that day, and I was planning to be with the girls, so I'm going to need to work out daycare, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that. If I'm with the faculty and staff in, say, this setting, I can probably plant the two of them in the front office and give them something to do. So anyway, I just want to put that out there. I don't know how, you mentioned Judy doing lunch as well. Anyway.
I'm presuming that Judy is doing lunch with you, but I don't know for sure. So let me, I can ask.
Okay. I want to be helpful and I want to be a part of the process, but it just some things to balance there and think about.
I mean, if Judy says she would really like you to do lunch, could we maybe swap the time and do, like teacher and staff first and then do lunch later? Would that help any?
Not necessarily. I mean, I still need to work out daycare. So I would just, and I may be able to, I just don't know at this point because I haven't had an opportunity to do that. So I just know
Okay.
if I'm not able to find someone, then it's going to be easier to plot my daughters in the front office during an interview than trying to figure out what to do with them while I'm going to lunch with someone.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
All right, let me ask Judy, cause this, like I said, this is the schedule they sent, and they wanted feedback on it, so, I can ask.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other feedback or questions? Jed, this is when it would have been really great to have your wife still at the chocolate shop.
The chocolate shop is still there, they can still go, it's just not gone there.
One of our advisory committee members for ART owns it, so we could work that out.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Suzanne, I do have a question.
Linda?
Is this going to, these 2 dates, are they going to be board meetings for that night?
Yes, they will be.
Thank you.
But they will be warned, Linda, as,
I'm assuming executive session.
this is executive session.
Thank you.
So Suzanne, give me the details and I'll have Patrice warn that next week.
Yep. So, are there any other concerns or questions around the schedule? So I need to ask about the lunch with Jay and if he can be moved or if that's the way they would like it. And then what we need to do to set up to make sure that the spouse of the candidates is not left twiddling their thumbs and that we're taking care of them and showing them the highlights of this wonderful community that we live in and making them fall in love with it as Judy did. To let you all know, Judy got stranded in Burlington. She went to get on her flight and they had oversold the flight, so she got, as she put it, stuck in the beautiful state of Vermont and spent several extra days here. And now she's in love with Vermont. So I'm not sure if she's in love enough to move from St. Louis to here, but she definitely has said that she loves Vermont and would like to spend more time here. So that is all that I have on the superintendent search update.
Suzanne, one other question.
Yes.
How is the faculty and staff being alerted about this update?
About the update as far as the schedule or?
I think the faculty and staff would love to know that we have 2 candidates and that they're coming on the 7th and 8th and, you know, all the work that the board has done to get to this point. So I'm just wondering how they're finding out about that.
I mean, I can send, once we have the schedule firmed up, I can send a copy of the schedule to all the staff and send them out to them and let them know where we're at and include the schedule. And I can ask the staff and teachers to reach out to you. The first 8 to 12 are on the committee and then the rest would be, I guess, as backups in case somebody can't make it.
Okay.
Did you say something? I saw your
No.
head move, but and your lip, but I didn't
just-
hear anything.
That sounds like a good plan, so thank you.
Okay. And then I'm not sure how to do the student representatives. I don't have any access to a database with student names, so do you have is there like a email list for all the students that could be sent out and asked if they would like to participate or who could participate?
There is. I don't know what kind of response we'll get in the summertime. But if you are asking me to reach out to students, I can do that.
Okay. And maybe, if we sent out an email, and then depending on what we got back, we could then follow up with some phone calls to shake the bushes and get some more names or something?
Yes, so doing that sooner rather than later would be good. So I think just knowing the time that the students, just so I can explain what their obligation would be and.
So the time right now on this, and this is a draft schedule, so the times could change, but currently it's 11:15 to 12 for interviews with students.
And any other incentives that the board might provide to get students to come and do this?
You'd have to ask the board.
I ask only because I think we could probably get some students to do it without providing anything, but sometimes in the past when we've had interview committees, we might provide them with some pizza or snacks or treats or those types of things to just thank them for taking time out of their schedule to help us out in this way.
Are we able to reimburse them monetarily?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Free state park pass for the day?
That might be something. I don't know. I mean, I presume in the school board budget, we probably have some money in there that we could, after they got done doing their interviews, we could have a little pizza party for them.
I think that would be adequate. I don't know that if a park pass is similar to a gift card or something like that, that is like cash, that I know generally is frowned upon.
Frowned upon.
Yeah, so, but.
A pass, like tickets or something for free ice cream is okay. It just can't be a gift card because that's like cash from the auditors.
Okay, so if it's specific.
If it's specific for a particular task, like 2 tickets to a movie for the next 3 months or something like that can be used, that's fine. You can do that. Because then it can only be used for that.
But then we don't know what movie they're seeing.
It doesn't matter. What matters is, from the auditor's perspective, is that we cannot give somebody a card that could be used for anything, because that's basically a blank check. So that's what we have been cautioned against.
Okay.
So a gift card for pizza would be fine too.
Potentially, yeah.
I mean, given the time that it's happening, we could order pizza and pick it up and have it here for, when we're done, and, they could just be out in the lobby having lunch or something, so.
One of the other things might be a pass for field days. That would probably be very appropriate for anybody.
Yep.
That's a biggie.
Yep.
So, and that's occurs in August, but
They may not.
a particular group, that might be another incentive.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea.
That's a great idea.
They all have.
They're like,
They all have to work there.
So
Yeah, maybe.
you can tell them we're kicking around some ideas that would,
Incentives.
a recognition for their service,
That's right, for their
yes.
for their help.
including
So-
food.
Yeah, you gotta add food.
Most of them will be attracted by food.
So,
That's the only reason why I'm participating.
all right, Dana Bisbit multi-line renewal.
Yes, and this I did drop in your packet, I'm pretty sure. This comes out annually. It's more informational, and the only reason that we're going through this is just to give you an update. Shane and I thought that it would be beneficial. There's no action required on your part, but our cost, it's more awareness of the cost for our multi-line. This year, it's going to be, in FY23, it will be $51,680. Last year, it was $46,376. We budgeted $58,150 based on some preliminary numbers. So we have more than what we were alerted to previously. So it will go up a little bit, less than 10%, I believe, from last year, just about 10%, and not as much as we had budgeted. So there will still be some savings. It's just to give you an idea, it's a big ticket item, and we thought that you should just be aware of that. So no action required, the operations team has it. Just wanted to make you aware of what the multi-line costs are in the aggregate, and we get services for our contribution. We get approximately $7,500 to $10,000 each year for safety upgrades. So that's a good benefit.
Kim, I saw you waving your hand.
I'll do it again. As a tag team to that, the Governor's Healthcare Commission that I'm on, one of the pieces that we're working on in the off time of already a settled contract is a questionnaire that will go out to the incoming superintendent, business manager, whoever comes first, asking some specific questions about healthcare in regards to our systems. We did notice during the contract negotiations that everybody's a little different. When does that healthcare start? When does it end? What happens, for instance, if one employee works in one district, one works in another district, or chooses to move to another district? Those are common threads that we saw throughout the negotiations and found this would be an opportunity for us within the next 3 years to answer some of these questions. So we're working on the survey. It's going to come out hopefully soon. We have another meeting in July, and we're kind of tweaking it. We have also, at this point, hired a public relations person to help us with all those pieces, and he's from the southern part of the state, and it's just been very helpful to have somebody with a different perspective to take a look at, what we do and how we do it, and keeps us all in tune with what's happening now. And just wanted to give that update quickly. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Policy 4.1 governing style.
Suzanne, before you close up, I just thought that the board would like to know that we were the recent beneficiaries of a $550,000. That's $550,000 congressional spending allocation under Senator Leahy for workforce development that will benefit the Career Center, Adult Ed, the Makery, and Workforce Development. It was in partnership with Addison County Economic Development, and we were just notified, I think last weekend, of that earmark for congressionally directed spending allocation. We will probably not see that money for another 18 months. As I had reported on previously, we are also the recipients of a $100,000 grant for workforce development in partnership with Collins Aerospace. And that application went in March of 2021. And it had to go through the legislative process, which took over a year to be finalized. And we were notified, I think in April, that the training is happening now in June for the grant that will result in the $100,000 being awarded to the Career Center. But you can expect that to be available sometime around December of 2023 or potentially January of 2024. So it's well into the future. But Senator Leahy, his office had reached out to us because we put in the previous grant and encouraged us to apply and follow up and expand on the partnership with Collins. And so several of us, including David Roberts, Dave Cole, Fred Kenny, and myself, worked on the grant provisions that we put into the application. So, not the grant provisions, but the congressionally directed spending request. So,
Great.
just wanted to share that.
That is super exciting.
Super exciting, yes.
Super.
Suzanne, Jay?
I hope that makes the newsletter. Missy?
No, it was Jay.
Oh, Jay.
Suzanne, I apologize if this is out of line in terms of the agenda, and I know that you're waiting on a letter from Secretary French, but I just want to ask the board again about a plan for July 1st when Dana will no longer be with us. So lots of people are asking, and just want to make sure that we have something in place come that day. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Policy 4.1 governing style. Who'd like to take that one on? Don't all jump at once.
I'll do it, Suzanne.
Steve Rooney's gonna do it. Thank you.
A very efficient meeting. I think Jay's last question, I think it'd be good to get some clear feedback on that. But other than that, I think it was a great meeting and good conversation and some good news, and I hope Nick comes back refreshed and helps move his program forward. So, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Steve. Dana, do you have anything for executive session?
I don't believe so.
Anybody else have anything that they might need under negotiations or personnel for executive session? Hearing
Oh.
none.
Hold on.
Oops. I probably do have a brief update. It's a 2-minute update on contracts.
Okay, so may I have a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of personnel?
So moved, Kim?
Moved by Kim, is there a second?
Second, Steve.
Steve Rooney seconded it. We'll go into executive session at 6:27.